Hello, D-Gens. Welcome to Degenerate Takes Happy Hour Sports Talk. I, of course, am the Brofix one, AJ. Happy Friday, September 5th, 2025. Hope you're having a great day, had a great week, and ready for a great weekend. We've got a lot to break down today. Before we go any further, though, just want to take a moment. Shout out to everyone watching here on Rumble, over on YouTube and X. Y'all are the best. If you like what we're cooking, please hit those like buttons, hit the follow buttons. Does help us out a lot more than you know. But, it's crazy. It's crazy. There are... okay. Sorry, let me backtrack here. We've got a lot to talk about today. Okay, we've got the NBA in absolute shambles right now. NFL opener. We're going to talk about Chiefs and Chargers tonight and anything else that piques my interest. But I do want to start off in the NBA, which I know is absolutely crazy to say, especially when there was an NFL game played just last night, the season opener between the Eagles and the Cowboys. Eagles taking that one 24-20. We'll break it down a little bit more in a moment, but it's so rare nowadays in the sports world we live in and in the news world we live in that there are stories that are bigger than the NFL. And especially during NFL's, opening weekend, And Pablo Torre, who has, I gotta say, has slowly become one of my favorite faces in sports media right now. One of the few guys that actually puts in the work and does the journalism side of the sports journalism and gets it done. And he has continued to drop absolute banger after absolute banger with no end in sight. I absolutely love what he was doing. If you haven't listened to his podcast, again, one of the few I would say, quote unquote, mainstream guys, just because he is getting paid by The Athletic. And I do consider The Athletic pretty mainstream. But the fact that he was able to find a story and drop a story when the NFL is starting, and that's pretty much all anyone can talk about besides Micah Parsons trade. It's unbelievable. And I'm referring to the fact that Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers may have circumvented the salary cap. And I think that's the best way to phrase what has happened over this last week with this story with Pablo Torre. And again, go and listen to the podcast. There's two shows about it now. One with ex-Marlins GM and one other gentleman. I cannot remember his name for the life of me. I can't remember either of their names except Pablo. That's a whole other issue on my end. And then this last one, that came out today with Mark Cuban, which was a banger and a half. Let me tell you. We'll get to that part in a sec, but it's a great podcast, and it lays out essentially how everything around the Kawhi trade was kind of interesting. And it all started with this company called Aspiration or Aspire, one of the two. I always get that mixed up, but that came out. They went bankrupt. And in the bankrupt filings, it was shown, that they had multiple people that were, not sponsors, endorsed. They had endorsements deals with multiple people, including, of course, the LA Clippers, who they had, they were a founding sponsor of the new stadium of the Inuit Dome that they built there with all the toilets and everything you could imagine. They had their names on the back seats on the back of the seats courtside there. So they were a big part of the Clippers. And it goes even deeper than that. It goes to the point where Steve Ballmer, the owner of the Clippers, has more money than he knows what to do with, invested about $50 million into this company. From there, they go on and do their thing, and it comes around the time, Kawhi Leonard is, re-signing, looking for a contract extension, et cetera, and, he signs the deal, and it's below max. It's a very team-friendly deal. It lines up with the Paul George of it all, and they, and it just, and that happened. And then a couple months later, and Ballmer, he's good to his point. We'll get to Ballmer a lot in a moment because he's got receipts and he's going to defend this until the very end. But they, they introduce Kawhi and them and they decide to work together. But the issue with when stuff is made public is that contracts are then made public. And the contract that they had endorsement-wise worked out with Kawhi Leonard directly is a dream. I think that's the best way to put it. It's a dream and a half. I dare you to find any person who, if presented with the contract Kawhi Leonard was presented with, to turn that down, because they're a liar. They're just a straight bold-faced liar. I'm telling you. Kawhi Leonard offered about $28 million over a certain amount of years, and he didn't have to do shit. He didn't have to, post anything on social media. He didn't have to like anything on social media. He didn't have to do an advertisement. He didn't have to go and do XYZ, plant trees. That was the big thing. That's what this company did. Okay. They were going to make all the rich people feel bad about their private jets and everything. So you buy these carbon credits from them. They're going to go plant a bunch of trees and shit. Okay. Wild stuff. I know. Believe me, I still can't wrap my head around the concept of the business, if we're going to be completely honest, and the fact that then people invested into it and then were expecting a lot out of this, and they had a lot of really A-list celebrity style talent on these endorsement deals, of course, including Kawhi Leonard. But again, $28 million for so many years, he didn't need to show up. He did not need to show up to do anything, didn't need to, literally. But there was one clause in there that was very interesting that Pablo Torre found, and he found out, because that's what Pablo Torre does, is find out. And that clause stating that essentially any and all endorsements that have to do with Aspire would expire and would not be paid out once he leaves the Clippers. That's interesting language. That's interesting language for a guy who's, getting paid a lot less probably than he should. And then is going to get paid a lot more money from this other company to do endorsements where he doesn't really have to endorse anything. Okay. And then again, Pablo Torre must have just too much time on his hands, because it's awesome the stuff this guy finds out. To go on later, let me find the exact tweet, because I want to make sure I get the wording absolutely correct. Where is it? It was, I find it was something along the lines of, there it is. KL2 Aspire LLC. KL2 Aspire LLC is where all of this money from Aspire was getting, that was Kawhi Leonard's money, was getting moved to. Form an LLC, fine. Let's go ahead and entertain that argument for a little bit. You listen to anybody on Twitter, TikTok, or anything that pretends to know anything about finances, the first thing they're going to tell you to do is set up an LLC, this tax shelter, yada, yada, yada. And I'll admit, we got an LLC for this show, and everything that we do just makes sense. I mean, we haven't done much with it, but it's one of those things. It's cool to say I got an LLC. Hey, bro, I got an LLC. Anyway. So KL2 Aspire LLC, very clear, in my opinion, what this LLC is set up to do. And that is to take in the money that he is making from Aspire and this endorsement deal that they have worked up with him, and keep the money there and deal with it later. All right, cool, bro. Cool. Again, team-friendly deal. Now this other endorsement deal pops up that, then if you add the numbers together, really put it to a max. So he's kind of getting paid the same, if not a little bit more, but just not affecting the cap. Anyway, wild stuff. Wild stuff. And then more news comes out that there's this uncle, I don't remember his name, and I can't find it right now, but he was going around to other teams acting as an agent, okay? And this also is part of the issue. And the NBA, if you remember a couple of years back, had a big meeting about the fact that, hey, if you are not an NBA, accredited agent, you are not allowed to negotiate, you're not allowed to ask for anything, et cetera, et cetera. And there was a history of this. There was a history of his uncle doing this, going to owners, acting as representation and saying, hey, listen, we need XYZ. And it's not the first time. Kawhi Leonard reportedly asked Toronto's owner, Larry Tenenbaum, to line up an extra $15 million in endorsements when deciding his free agency. I mean, so we've got a pattern here. We've got a history. And now they're doing the same shit, different place. And the crazy thing about all of this, and you can talk about the integrity of the league, you can talk about the salary cap and how that apparently is nothing and everything, but the crazy thing to me is I don't think this is something the NBA wants to open up. And we'll get to that in a moment. And it's very clear, I think, that the NBA doesn't want this to open up because they sent the number one man that you send in when shit starts hitting the fan, and that's Mark Cuban. You send in the cubes when shit starts hitting the fan and you need someone to spin something, no matter how idiotic it is, no matter what the premise is, you need something spun, you need something to look good on your end. You call Mark Cuban up and you say, hey, Cubes, I need you to go on this guy's podcast and essentially defend NBA owners. That's what we need you to do for probably a while. And according to Pablo Torre and the episode that came out today, it was about a 3-hour conversation they had, went on different tangents, etc. And it was interesting to say the least. Listen to it this morning, and Pablo did what he did. He laid out the evidence that he had, and then the new evidence that he had occurred since, and laid it out to Mark, and it was essentially like, Mark, like, how the hell does this happen? Like, you can't tell me this hasn't happened. Especially, and the Clippers had this issue with the Mavericks, of trying to circumvent the salary cap or make something work that wasn't supposed to work in a trade there a couple of years back. And so Mark Cuban should be very familiar with this, and if anything, should be, I would say appreciative of Torre finding out what's going on and how this all happened, etc., and keep everyone honest. I think that's what should have been the vibe going into it, but instead, Mark Cuban came off, to me at least, very defensive of the whole situation, and it felt like it wasn't Pablo Torre and Mark Cuban debating. It felt like it was Pablo Torre and all NBA owners, and Mark Cuban was their spokesman today. Good, bad, indifferent, whatever you think of him. I mean, that's what he was. He was their mouthpiece. And he did not do a good job, in my opinion, of framing the situation as a impossibility. If anything, he laid it out to be more probable than improbable. And I know the Clippers have come out and have said everything under the sun. I mean, Ballmer went on ESPN. He went on ESPN, Sports Center, to defend himself and the Clippers and to put all of this to bed. What I think is absolutely batshit crazy, if it's not true, and Pablo Torre just pulled all of this out of his ass, why are you releasing an official statement on it? Why are you then going on SportsCenter? Why are you sending Mark Cuban onto his show to defend everything? And that's what he did. He tried to defend Ballmer every which way possible, and I felt bad for Torre. There was one point, and I respect Pablo and the composure he had for it, because I was getting frustrated too, as Pablo probably was. At one point, he's like, no, Mark, you're not listening to what I'm saying. That's not what I said at all. And then laid out the other thing he was trying to get to. And yeah, it was a frustrating conversation to listen to. I mean, Mark Cuban did everything to make Ballmer look like a genius that was too smart to get caught into a scam. And that in that, it didn't make sense, the whole Kawhi thing. Like, why does it matter if Kawhi was getting paid by them too? Well, it matters because around the time he got paid by him, Ballmer invested $50 million into him. And then suddenly Kawhi gets a $28 million deal with them. And you know what I mean? It's one of the, you can look at it and you can try to spin it any way you want to. There's not a way to spin it where the Clippers and Ballmer don't look bad. And whether front office knew about it or whatever the deals were behind closed doors, because that's what happened. Ownership got involved with the Kawhi free agency and the extension and everything and said, listen, we can't do this because of salary cap. But what we can do is, I know this company and they won't make you do shit, but you can collect a $28 million check from them and continue on from there. Now, granted, is it one of those things that's worth the hustle? No, but this is definitely, I think, something the NBA, big picture, talking big picture, yeah, Clippers could get into a lot of trouble here. There's everyone going to the doomsday scenario of contracts voided, essentially reset how that whole initial trade went down in 2019. I don't think that's going to happen. That's too much of a headache for everybody. No one's going to be happy with that. Except maybe Clippers fans, because you get rid of Kawhi, who didn't really play last year. You get Shai Gilgeous in there anyway. This reminds me so much of the Michigan cheating scandal. So much of the Michigan cheating scandal, because yes, this is serious. Yes, this is something that the NBA needs to investigate, which they've opened an investigation into, and they need to get the bottom to. This is not something they want getting bigger. This is something that they wish they can go ahead, put to rest, and just kind of like let's hope the NFL, regular season can kind of take over from here and take over this news cycle. Something tells me Pablo Torre ain't gonna let that happen, and there's gonna need to be some resolution to the investigation. There's rumors already that the Jalen Brunson deal that didn't really make sense, that was a real hometown discount. He's gonna look into that, see what's going on with the Knicks and Jalen. The NBA really does. They want this shut down quick, and that's why they sent Cubes on there. They thought Mark Cuban was going to go on there, be able to smooth everything over and make it a non-story, but he made it a lot worse. So maybe we stop sending Mark Cuban to go out there and talk in crisis situations to make everything seem all right. But it's absolutely wild. It's absolutely wild. Again, shout out to Pablo Torre. Go give him the listen. Go give him the likes. He does incredible work. And you got a 2-day weekend. I know there's a lot of football on, but if you got time in the morning or something, you got to walk a dog, throw Pablo Torre Finds Out on. Listen to those last 2 episodes. Absolutely incredible. But this could forever change how the NBA is done in these contracts and endorsements in general. You know what I mean? Because it's sketchy, man. It's very, very sketchy, everything that's going on. And this can't be the only instance. You know what I mean? And I mean, I'm going to take MLB out of the equation, because it's very rare that a deal doesn't make sense, I would say, in the MLB. Like every once in a while, you're like, oh shit, that guy got paid way too much money. But it's more that than it is, well, why did he take a hometown discount when this other team was offering this and they're probably going to make a championship? There's not a lot of that. But one thing that has definitely popped into mind, and I know has been popping around the internet, was people saying, hey, Pablo, maybe you go look at Tom Brady and the Patriots from a couple years back, huh? Go and investigate that dynasty. Brady took a lot of hometown discounts, and he was in a lot of commercials and shit, but was he in that much to turn down that much money? I mean, I would say it was worth it, getting all those Super Bowl rings. And the Clippers haven't gotten jack shit from this whole situation. And this is bad. Like, this is straight up. This is just a bad time to be the Clippers and to be an NBA owner in general, I would say. And NBA owners, MLB, NFL, NHL, any pro team, pro owner, pro athlete, pro coach, if you haven't yet, I think you should be on notice. Keep your nose clean. Because if you do not keep your nose clean, Pablo Torre will find out, and he will make it huge news. I mean, it happened with Bill Belichick and Jordan. It's happening here with Kawhi and everything. I mean, shout out to Pablo. He is doing incredible work. He's awesome. Anyway, crazy. It's absolutely mind-blowing what's going on there. Mind-blowing. We'll see if anything comes of it, but who knows? Just because I can't help myself. We'll talk just a little bit more basketball, because I really can't help myself. Hold on. Let me find the tweet. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Angel Reese. WNBA season's still going on, by the way. I know we all forget around this time of year, but this is your reminder that WNBA season still is going on. T's and P's to Caitlin Clark. She is shut down for the season due to injury, so good luck on recovery. Good luck on rehab and everything. Would love to see her be able to complete a full season. Would love to see it, and I really don't blame her. That's a whole other conversation we're not getting into. Angel Reese, though, and I got to admit, at this point, and treating everything as equal and as an athlete and everything, she's one of those athletes that can't keep her foot out of her mouth. And her mouth is going to get her into trouble more often than it's going to help her out. Angel Reese openly questioning her future in Chicago, criticizes teammates and coach Tyler Marsh. the quote that they go with from Front Office Sports is, if things don't pan out, I might have to move in a different direction. Well, do what you got to do. Do what you got to do. But when your team's not really in a playoff position, when your team's not really performing all great, when, yeah, you're a great defensive player, like, I don't know if I'd be in that position. Yes, you're the biggest name on the roster, but no one to hold them, no one to fold them, no one to walk away. Shout out to the NBA and WNBA still staying somewhat relevant as we are here in football season, baby. Football season kicked off last night with our opener of the Eagles and the Cowboys. We'll get to the game in a moment, but the season started off as, I think, 2 years in a row, it's starting to become a tradition. Of, fantasy football owners and fantasy football leagues drafting, and a lot of drafts, they're day before, 2 days before, or some a couple hours before the season actually starts. And because you're trying to take in as much information, no injury status, no updates, and where you want to go with your draft and where you could go with your picks and everything. And there are some people that just never learn. There unfortunately are. And for the second year in a row, the San Francisco 49ers maybe weren't completely up to, honesty on a certain player's health status. Christian McCaffrey limited in practice yesterday and is now questionable for week one. Very similar to kind of what happened last year. He was shut down, and not shut down, but very limited in practice towards the last couple of weeks, and then got sent off to Germany for surgery or whatever else they did. So Christian McCaffrey, yeah, we're going to wait on him and see what happens there. Road Dog in the chat. How you doing, bud? Happy football weekend. First real full weekend of football. I know we had college football week one, but like full NFL college football. Let's ride, baby. Let's ride. But shout out to Christian McCaffrey fantasy owners and those of you who thought that this year was going to be different. It's not. It's not. You're going to have to wait until kickoff probably to know whether he's going to be in or out. It might be SOL. So sorry about it. I'm sorry. One other thing before I get to the game, because it frustrates me so much. When I turn in, I'm a very picky watcher when it comes to sports content. When it comes to, the media personalities I listen to, the analysis I listen to, and everything. Like, I'm very, very picky when it comes to that content. I'm a little bit of a snob, and I'm okay to admit that. Okay, I'm okay. And no, it's not because I think, I have a show, so I know. I'm first to admit I don't know everything. That's why I listen to a lot of different voices and hear other opinions, and not only form my own, because I know kind of my opinion going in, but hearing other arguments and where other people are coming from, so I can get a full view, from 10,000 feet, and kind of go from there, and how I want to, think about stuff and to evaluate and everything. And I am picky. I'm very picky because there are some people out there who get into positions where they're able to talk to the national public, and due to their playing career, who they know, etc. Shout out Jax Collinsworth yesterday. Saw ya. I know he was trying to stay away during the pre-show, but they couldn't keep him away forever. They could not keep him away forever. Shout out Jax Collinsworth. But there are some people, especially nowadays, when there is so much good talent out there, and I'm not just talking this show, I'm talking everywhere here on Rumble. Shout out to the boys at Game On. Anyone, a lot of people on YouTube, TikTok, etc. There are so many talented individuals that are creating content, talking about sports and talking about, the games we love and the teams we love to follow. There's so many different creators out there. And so it frustrates me to no end when a person who gets paid millions of dollars to talk about one sport, not a variety of sports, to talk about one sport, and they continue to craft their takes after just clickbait, rage bait, and everything else under the sun. Of course, I'm talking about our boy Ryan Clark. Just what a fucking idiot. I'm sorry, man. Like, I really try to have a lot of respect for everybody that's in the industry and everything like that. It's a hard industry to be in. It's a hard industry to break through in and to get a following and then to get a contract. I get it. It's a hard business, but there are some people that give it a bad name, man. And Ryan Clark is that man. And don't get me wrong, we can go with Nick Wright. We can go with this Bill Simmons guy who can't get, over the fact that a young kid can actually do fucking journalism. Like all the old heads, et cetera, they're so beyond the times, and they forget that Google exists. They forget that AI, Grok, and, Chat GPT exists, and that a quick Google search or an AI question can prove they're just dumb. And I get it. A lot of sports and analyzing talent and games and everything, a lot of it is opinion based, because you go into a game, you go into you go into a sport and you think this is how it should be played, or this is what I'm expecting from this team and how this other team should react. You have your own biases going into a conversation when you're talking about sports, your own team, a different game, et cetera. And what separates the good analysts and the good commentators from the bad ones is the ones who can get out of their own way and actually make those arguments and not just do it for clicks. And I'm referring to Ryan Clark and his genius statement, quote unquote, I don't think Tom Brady, I don't think Drew Brees, I don't think Peyton Manning are generational talents, unquote, Ryan Clark. Listen, you want to go ahead and say Cam Newton, you want to go ahead and say Trevor Lawrence, you want to go ahead and say Archman. Fine, dude. Fine, go ahead and get your digging at these quarterbacks. I don't give a shit, dude. But you're literally going after the three of the statistical best quarterbacks. Three of quarterbacks, when you think about them, you think longevity. You think playoffs, you think big games, you think that dog mentality, you think that clutch gene. You think about that leader, generational talent. Get out of here, dude. Now, could there have been an argument if he was half intelligent and he said, these were guys that weren't labeled generational talents, and look at them. Maybe they didn't hit generational, but they still were one of the greats. And when we talk about football from years on out, we will still be talking about Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and Drew Brees. Instead, like Road Dogg said, shout out Road Dogg, by the way. I'm ready for football, brother. I don't know about you. He decides to go with the clicks. Let me, what's the stupidest thing I can say that's going to piss off the internet and get people talking? And shout out Ryan Clark. You're just like Jerry Jones. You got me talking. But again, for nothing good. I can't remember the last time Ryan Clark had a take and I was like, oh, damn, good take, bud. I see where you're coming from there. That's very rational and makes a lot of sense. No, this guy's so stupid, and ESPN just throws money at him and puts a microphone in front of his face when really this guy is just a keyboard warrior who doesn't really face any real backlash. Dan Orlovsky is too nice of a guy. No one on ESPN really wants to deal with the backlash of going up against Ryan Clark. I mean, it's terrible, dude. It's terrible, and he is everything that's wrong with sports media. If I think about what's wrong with sports media, I think about him. I think about not Chris Collinsworth, Colin Cowherd, Nick Wright, Sam Acho. I mean, these are guys that are just so desperate to be in the spotlight. They were in the spotlight for a minute, and they can't get enough of it. They need more of it. They need to be back in that spotlight, and they're going to make sure that that's all you can talk about. No matter how dumb what they say is, no matter how stupid it is, they're going to make sure it's dumb enough so that you can't not acknowledge it. You got to acknowledge them. You know what I mean? Oh, for sure. Road Dogg. For sure. Oh my God, he's in the hall in his opinion. He's in the hall. That's, yeah. I mean, and listen, I'm not trying to get a guy fired or anything like that. All I'm trying to do is all I'm trying to say is this is a guy who played in the league. This is a guy who should know a thing or two about football. Talk football, bro. You do not need this. Because I promise you will get more you get more bees with honey than you do. Whatever that saying is. I don't know. I'm bad at sayings if you don't know this. But talk football. Make educated arguments and have something to back it up and not just these baseless claims. Like, at least when Dan Orlovsky says something batshit crazy, he's like, no, look at this tape from this, look at this stat from this. Like, he's got the numbers, he's got the tape to back it up. Ryan Clark's just out here throwing shots at a dartboard and seeing what sticks. And it's terrible, man. It's real bad. And, ESPN wonders why no one watches. ESPN wonders why, ratings are falling except for a couple of shows, because people are tired of stupid shit like this, if you can't tell. If, like, honest to God, like, I truly believe the hot take era in sports media is dead. You know what I mean? And, like, people will still have hot takes, but people usually follow it, started off by saying, listen, I know this is a little crazy. This might be a hot take, but this is what I'm thinking. And then, there's pushback and stuff, and they talk about how batshit crazy it is, and we don't take it as fact. So I do think, like, the hot take artist era is dead. Just absolutely dead. No one's interested in it anymore. I mean, that's why half of FS1 had to clear out their new shows, and they throw Barstool on now. For real, people are done with hot takes. They want to talk about sports. They want to hear, the decision making, what's going on. If you're an insider, we want to hear what you got, what you're hearing. We're tired of Skip Bayless. We're tired of Stephen A. We're tired of Shannon Sharp. We're tired of insert hot take artist here. We're sick and tired of it. The public's tired with it. And I think I think the outrage with that Ryan Clark take is like, yeah, obviously everyone's done. Which, thank God. Because that was the dumbest, like, and, like, I granted I was not in a good mood because Colin Cowherd didn't know that the Chargers-Chiefs game was being played in Brazil, and I was like, wow, this guy's an idiot. And then I saw Ryan Clark's take, and I was like, wow, really? I didn't think anything could top the Cowherd thing. But Ryan Clark, come and get your prize. Seriously, dude, seriously. And then I also hate those fucking videos of him on the pivot, and he sits there all like, oh yeah, fuck off, dude. God, fuck off. He pisses me off almost as much as RG3. No, let me take that back. It goes Nick Wright, Colin Cowherd, Ryan Clark. Oh, who's that new guy that Cowherd has on the show with him? I'm not a fan of his. Chris Collinsworth, Ryan Clark, Cam Newton. Yeah, Around the Horn just sucked, though. I mean, listen. Okay, you want to know why I think Around the Horn actually got canceled, Road Dogg? Explain the points to me. Explain the points to me. When I worked at the sports book, there was this one of my managers was one of the biggest Around the Horn fans I'd ever met in my life. Absolutely loved the show. We always had it on the big screen, if it was a slow day in the book during the weekdays. And finally one day I was like, dude, so I get it. Like, I like some of the talent they would bring on and, some of the people they would bring on and everything. And I was like, but I got to ask, dude, like, I get there's a winner and a loser and everything, but what's the point structure? Like, how do I get 3 points? How do I get a point? Like, do I say certain buzzwords? Like, is there a secret word I don't know about? He dead ass had no idea. We had to Google it, and the Google results made less sense than we could have come up with. So that's why I think Around the Horn really got canceled. No, I'm joking. It's the hot takes. Everyone's tired of them, dude. Everyone's tired of them. And then Mina Kimes is like, oh, why are you guys attacking me? Because what you're saying makes no fucking sense, Mina. That's why. We attack everyone. This is the internet. Welcome to the internet. We attack everyone who says shit that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it made that format. See, but PTI, this just might be me being sentimental. I think PTI is so much of a different show than, Around the Horn. And maybe it's because I actually respect the hell out of the guys on PTI, but when I listen to them, and I know they have a clock and everything like that, but like I can probably put on one hand the amount of times I've watched PTI and be like what the where did you get that? Probably only so many times on my hand I can count that. But Around the Horn, First Take, everything, it's like, what the fuck, dude? Where are you getting any of this from what happened? Like, yes, that did happen, but where are you getting the rest of it, dude? Like, come on, man. Like, we do have brains. We do. And that's really why I don't like Colin Cowherd. He just talks like a condescending douchebag 24/7. And here's the thing. You got this, but you got to think about it like this. Okay. And then you got to do that. Fuck him. Oh, man. Quick talking was, yeah. Oh, absolutely, Road Dog. Great analysis there. Yeah, that's perfect, dude. And and I still think there's a place for it. You know what I mean? I still think there's a place for quick takes. You know what I mean? I'll be honest, when we talk about the Philly Dallas game, I have a couple opinions. A lot of what I thought was going to happen happened. We're going to talk about that in a moment, and then I'll give you my quick opinions on what I think's going to go on tonight. But that's the point. Like, there is still room there, and especially in this TikTok era and everything, it is being shown time and time again. It's harder to hold an audience past a certain point and everything, which is fine. And you got to adapt and overcome and, figure out different things you're going to do and how to keep that audience and everything. Shit, this show is still trying to figure that out, which we've got some big news coming around the corner in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned. Not like earth-shattering news, but big news for this show. I'm very excited about it. It's going to be sweet. But anyway, you got to figure out, like I said, how to kind of keep it all moving and everything. And so I get it. But I still think quick takes are a thing. It's the hot takes that are going to die down and everything. True, it is every other app. And that's the other hard part. You got to, and that's why I think everyone thinks hot takes still work, because, so much of what is on the internet is a lot of shock value and a lot of, oh my God, did they really do that or say that or yada, yada, yada. And I get that, but it works for certain things. You know what I mean? And like NBA Centel, I think is, perfect. NBA Centel comes out and says the most outrageous shit in the world. The most outrageous shit in the world. And if you know a thing or two about the internet, you're in the sports world at all, it's a joke. It's a joke. It's a hot take. It's something dumb, yada, 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 but it's a joke. And I think if Ryan Clark said that and then laughed afterwards, or like, oh, yeah, you know what I mean, Orlovsky, that's why you're a generational talent. If he would have done something like that, then yeah, that's different. And then it's a misquote, yada, yada, yada. But again, the worldwide leader in sports continuing to disappoint with their actual coverage of the sports that are worldwide. So, and now they got a big ass app. I will say, I know I've shit on ESPN a lot. Congratulations to ESPN. Now, I've only been asked to sign into the new app one time, and it was the first time I opened it. So ESPN, congratulations. I have not had to sign in 15 different times to use the app for watch one single game. So congratulations for figuring out how logging in and staying logged in works out. Can't believe it took y'all fucking 20, 15 years or whatever it took you. Because that ESPN app's been on a long time, and I mean, my God. But their first test is going to be, an actual game or an actual UFC event on that thing. We'll see, like a big fight. But who cares? They're losing the UFC. Oh, that's right. They got WWE coming up. Ooh, and WWE fans, they do not like buffering. Let me tell you that right now, brother, if you guys don't know that. Ooh. You think UFC fans and NFL fans and sports fans get pissed about buffering? Whew. Nah, man. Twitter might blow up. If that ESPN app crashes during a WWE live event. For real. Twitter might crash because ESPN crashed. It'll be crazy, dog. Oh, man. But yeah, crazy stuff. Ryan Clark, shut the fuck up, please. Pretty please. We're just asking you. We are asking you. And like, what's crazy? I'm sorry. And then I'm done with ESPN after this. Like, I was thinking about this because, like when I was like in college and stuff, and like I would listen to, my music and everything, and I'd come home and visit my parents, and I'd be in the car listening to it or something, and some choice words and situations would be used in said songs, and you're like, are you gonna play that for your kids? And like it wasn't like in a mean way. It was just like a. Like they played, like growing up, all they did was, play me music from their past and everything like that. Soft rock, hard rock and everything. And, yeah, there's music. Like I'm going to have to be very careful Like, I'm not probably going to start my 5-year-old off on Migos or anything like that. We'll probably start with Benson Boone, maybe Imagine Dragons or something like that, but not Migos, not Drake, not Wayne, and so, or Kendrick for that matter. Maybe Lil Yachty, I Spy. They'll be too young to understand. I don't know. We'll figure that out when I have kids. But anyway, I don't know if I'm going to watch ESPN with my kids. And like my dad and I would watch it in the mornings and stuff. We'd watch, Baseball Tonight, the coverage on Monday Night Football. But like, I mean, as a creator and as an independent creator, yes, support your small creators. We're going to watch a lot of that. But then it's not TV safe. It's not, you're following those rules and everything. There's guys like me who can just drop an F-bomb any time he wants to. My point being, though, like, ESPN has gotten to that point, you know what I mean? Where it's like, I don't want, like, if my kids are going to grow up listening to sports radio, I want them to listen to actual sports talk about the sports and not people just trying to get clicks or stay relevant, which is what Ryan Clark is doing. And yes, Road Dog, I did see everyone and their mom from ESPN defend Red Zone. Guys, the contract has been signed, but the deal has not been put through yet. This is not an ESPN thing. This is something that has been coming. You should have known it was coming last season when they were experimenting with it at the end. That should have been your first clue that Red Zone was not going to be commercial free any longer. And it was going to be 7 hours of football. This really isn't an ESPN thing. Now, will ESPN put more ads into Red Zone? Yes, and you should be pissed off then. But I don't have a problem with company men coming out and defending the company that signs their paychecks. I don't have an issue with that personally. Is it what they believe or anything like that? Probably not. I think McAfee said it best. Like, yeah, it sucks. We're not happy about it, but I'm still going to watch it, which I think is very true for a lot of people, and I think it's a bigger deal more than anything because Red Zone felt sacred to fans. And so many decisions that leagues, owners, and everyone makes are typically not in the best interest for the fans. You know what I mean? And so it's more than anything, I think it's the fact that it feels like a betrayal by the league, by the owners, by ESPN, by everyone that we spend so much time, so much money, so much energy on the NFL, on everything that is football. And this was like the one last sacred thing that we had that was for the fans. And you take it away from us by adding 15-second ads 4 times every one, for the 7 hours. Which again, guys, a lot worse can happen. A lot worse will happen with Disney. I think it's just that feeling of betrayal more than the actual advertisements. You know what I mean? I think it would have been real. I do think it would have been really, really, really shitty if you buy Red Zone and then that first week they haven't said anything about it and then ads pop up. I think then you have more of a right to be mad. But they at least told you before the season started. They at least told you. And Road Dog, yeah, I bet there are thousands of people canceling. I have no issue. Yeah, probably. And I agree. But I have NFL Plus Pro. So I have Red Zone. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to get rid of NFL Pro. I use everything else on NFL Pro just because it has Red Zone, Yeah, not consumer friendly. Can't funny. Dude, they should let Hansen go. Yeah, Hansen didn't have any say in this. Anyone who thinks Hansen had any say in this is delusional and thinks he has as much power as he thinks he has. And I'm starting to get tired of Hansen. I'm not going to lie. Like, yes, go call your 7 hours of football and just kind of stay there, bud. Just stay there. I don't really need to see all of you or anything like that. And don't get me wrong, big part of football history. He is the face and the mouth. They do not go to him for brain stuff, like putting in commercials. It was a memo he received probably like, hey, by the way, We're not 7 hours of commercial-free football anymore. We're 7 hours of football now. All right, let's get that clear before going into the first week. And, maybe if he stepped up and said something, but I promise you it was guys who make so much more money than him who looked at the bottom line and said, well, yes, we do get a lot of money from, subscriptions and everything. But what if I told you we could make more money? I know. Isn't that crazy? I will say I saw something on Twitter and it was the best idea I think I've ever heard. It was like, I'm not a marketing genius, but if I'm Bud Light, I just buy it up and say 7 hours of commercial-free football presented by Bud Light. Why not? Why not, man? Why not do something like that? Why not, have a company and just do that? What? And if anything, it's just going to buy you, you know what I mean? I'm at a bar and they have Red Zone on and I see the logo and I don't know what I'm going to get. Oh, shit, fine. Get me a Bud Light. Get me a Coors Light. Get me a High Noon. Get me a White Claw, Who knows? I think that's a great idea. I don't think it'll happen this year. I think that's more of a when they move to ESPN type of move. Because ESPN has that more set up already with the way the McAfee show is done. With the 2 hours being commercial free, but having an overall sponsor where they do that L screen and everything. I think when they move to ESPN, that's going to be a much more desirable package than just working directly with the NFL and the NFL Network right now, because ESPN is probably going to want to mush that together with College Red Zone too. And if you don't think College Red Zone is coming once this ink is dry on this deal, get ready, pal. Get ready. College Red Zone's right there. Let me tell you, brother. Let me tell you. Anyway, let's get into it. Last night, there was NFL football, opened the season up, banner night for the Philadelphia Eagles in the Link. They do come out with the victory 24-20 with one of the most weird games that we've seen to open up a season in a long time. Starts off with Spitgate. All right, starts off with Spitgate. Kickoff happens. You got an Eagle down. That sucks. And then all of a sudden you just see flags flying. And you're like, what the hell? What happened? What happened? What could have possibly happened before flags fly or anything like that? Like, what possibly could have happened? Well, Jalen Carter spit on Dak Prescott. Clear as day. I mean, you saw that loogie flying. It hit Dak in the shoulder. Jalen Carter gets ejected, and the Eagles are down, now their best pass rusher. But now it's fair, it's mano a mano. They're both down their best pass rusher. But coming out, as we're going into it was either it was after halftime or it was going into the lightning break. I can't remember exactly, but they show the full replay where Dak Prescott spit first. Now, granted, the spit did not land on Jalen Carter. It was just more of a, like a spit at him, towards him type situation. The issue is they never catch the person who acts first. They catch the retaliator. That was sportsmanlike conduct. Move that ball up and, you gone, bud. You gone. You're out of this game before we even get to play a snap, my man. You're done. Dunzo. No mas. And, hey, the Cowboys ate it up. The Cowboys started off nice and strong. That offense, was humming at the beginning. Dak looked to get into a rhythm. CeeDee Lamb was unstoppable. And the run game for Dallas looked really good. Shout out to Javonte Williams looking damn good in the backfield. 15 carries, 54 yards, 2 tutties. Great night for him. Miles Sanders got some 53 yards, 2 off 4 carries. Kevontae Turpin is going to be dangerous. He's going to be a dangerous returner for this Dallas Cowboys team. But then Philadelphia Eagles get the ball back, and it's right back where we picked up. Let's get Saquon involved. Let's get the boys involved. Let's march down this field, get a tush push, and keep it moving. Jalen Hurts with 2 touchdowns. Had a good game for him. 19 for 23. 152 yards. Only took 1 sack on the night at 93.7 QBR. Dak Prescott as well, not too shabby. 21 for 34. I will say the Cowboys did ask him to throw the ball a lot, especially late in the game. We'll get to CD in a moment. 188 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Did not take a sack, and a 58.7 QB rating. And I will say the Eagles did have issues getting pressure on the quarterback. Let me rephrase it. They had issues closing it out. They did not really. They were able to get to the quarterback. They were able to break through that line and put pressure on Dak, I would say, but they weren't able to close that deal out at any time. And Dak looked a lot very mobile, very comfortable after surgery and everything, and looked healthy and ready to roll. That's for damn sure. And CeeDee Lamb looked good too, early. he and it was weird, dude. It was crazy, like especially that first ball. And that first ball is the only one I really care about because that first ball was the game. That first bomb that he had where it was just in his hands. He had 2 opportunities to catch it, and it was almost picked off by the Eagles. I mean, you think of those big moments. You think of the gotta have him catches. Everyone knew the Cowboys were going to CD. Dak couldn't have placed that ball any better. CD just didn't watch it into his hands. 3 drops to close out the night in must-have moments. You can't do it, dude. You can't do it, and you leave your team in a bad place. And CD knows it. CD knows that was on him. It was. And I mean, granted, could the defense have, tried to hold up a little bit? Yeah, you could have. But when Jake Elliott's out there making 50-yarders, it's going to be hard to, put a stamp on that stop. And so I will say very low turnovers. I think it was only 1 turnover by the Cowboys early. Yeah, one fumble by Miles Sanders pretty early in the game. Eagles go ahead and recover that one. But I'll give credit where credit's due. The Dallas Cowboys looked a hell of a lot better than I thought they would. And I hate to say that, but the Cowboys offensively looked very smooth and very together. Not a lot of stupid mistakes. Defensively, I think they looked sharper than last season. They looked a little bit sharper this season. In this game. It was funny though, you know what I mean? A couple of times Jalen Hurts is scrambling around doing his thing, and it's like, oh damn, if only you had a generationally talented defensive end that could go get the quarterback. Oh no. But Eagles look right in line. They looked slow to start. I think having Jalen Carter come out early kind of messed up the defensive, flow, but they got back into it. Offensively, a little bit of the same, but they were able to just get into that flow. I think the Eagles are going to be very boring. I think they're going to be very boring. You know what I mean? They're going to expect Saquon to go out there and do something amazing every week, and he's not. And everyone's going to say, oh, the Eagles have lost a step. No, they're going to be like they were last year. Very methodical. They're going to run the ball. They're going to get those big gap plays. They're going to make a grind on you they're going to make you grind on offense when that defense is out on the field. And that's how they got to the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl. Why change something that's not broken? Yes, you got new pieces in there, but I really like the way this Eagles team is looking early here. Big divisional win early. But if you're a Cowboys fan, we're upset about that Micah trade. Don't get me wrong. You should still be upset about the Micah trade. But on the plus side, not too bad. You held your own against the defending champs in a damn good game where Dak looked hot. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not writing them off. I'm not doing that yet. I'm not doing it. I've also made one decision last night watching the game. And I was worried about, vocalizing this, but it's my show. I'll do whatever the hell I want. I have decided, and this might be the Disney softy in me and everything, but I've decided that I really want Jerry to win one more before, he steps down and everything. I really do. Everything he's done for this league, everything he's built, and, he's kind of understood the mistakes he's made and everything. Don't get me wrong. He hasn't put himself in a position to correct those mistakes, and not like hiring a football mind and listening to them. But I want to see Jerry win one more. Make me feel good in the heart. Make me feel good in the soul. Now, would the fans be insufferable for that next season and that summer? Absolutely. Would it be miserable? Absolutely. But I think it'd be good for the soul if Jerry Jones went ahead and the Cowboys won one more for him. But shout out to the Cowboys fans. I think your team looks a hell of a lot better. Yeah, you're starting off 0-1, but Better than 0-1 and getting blown out on banner night. And honestly, I think that lightning doesn't happen. I think this game continues to stay close and we have a shootout all the way down to the final 2 minutes if that lightning doesn't come in. From the way that game was flowing and everything, yeah, I think this goes down similarly, but maybe a little bit more flip of the coin. Who knows? Hell of a game, though. Hell of a way to start off our season. I loved it, man. It was so nice to be back. That first fumble, yelling ball, ball, ball at my TV while my wife looked at me like I was batshit crazy. I missed it, man. Missed it. But we're all the way back, baby. We're all the way back. And that's why we've got Friday Night Football back tonight. And it's the Kansas City Chiefs, Los Angeles Chargers. Early reports coming in from the stadium in Brazil. Seeing a lot of the same issues that we saw last year. The grass not really, being good for football and the cuts you got to make, making the walkthroughs very difficult. We'll see if they're able to dry that out, hopefully. And so we're still able to, get a good game out of this one, hopefully. The Chiefs and the Chargers. I mean, let me pull up those lines real quick. Come on, baby. Where are we? Why are we doing that? There we go. Chiefs are 3-point favorites going into this one. -175 on the money line. 47.5 is the total. Technically a Chargers home game, but played on a neutral site. Y'all know how that goes. We do have kickoff here in a couple of hours, actually. Holy shit. Public's actually very, very split on this one. 50% of the bets, 50% of the money coming in on the Chiefs. And same thing with the Chargers. Where's that money line coming in on? Hold on, give me 1 second. Money line heavy on the Chiefs, 88% of the bets, 72% of the money. It appears the gambling public has discovered what we have all discovered a couple of years ago, that the Chiefs love to win, but they hate to cover. So the money line bets make a lot of sense to me. And the line movement makes sense. Open at -142, move into -160-ish, -170-ish. Shop your lines. Total sitting at 47.5, 89% of the bets, 55% of the money on that. I will say I am all over the under in this situation as well, with the stadium conditions being the way they are. As Road Dog saying, makeshift in the first place. Yeah, it's in the middle of Brazil. I believe Brazil is just in the middle of a jungle, if we're going to be honest. I'm not sure. I'm not really great with world geography and topography, I believe the word is. But yeah, Brazil's trying to get, that's for damn sure. Oh, you gotta love the World Cup. Anyway, not going to make that joke. Anyway, Kansas City Chiefs 3-point favorites. I have seen this hovering around at 2.5 at some sports books. And so getting closer to kickoff here, I do see 3.5 being in our world for the foreseeable future here, at least until kickoff. As I mentioned on the under 47.5 here, not taking any points. I am going to go ahead and take Chiefs money line here, though. It's going to be a crazy game. Playing overseas or playing, that anywhere that's not in an NFL stadium always leads to certain stuff. I do think this is going to be a heavy run game and a heavy short pass game. And so let me run you through my little same game parlay I've got for tonight, plus 11,900. We got Chiefs on the money line. Isaiah Pacheco to score a touchdown. Him looking for a big revenge season in a quote he provided earlier this week. Amarian Hampton getting his first NFL touchdown for the Chargers. Love that tonight. Under 47, I didn't get the hook when I put this in. I have Pacheco rushing for 40-plus yards, Patrick Mahomes rushing for 20-plus yards. I do have Travis Kelce with 30-plus yards receiving. And so that's probably the one I'm concerned about the most. I think Patrick Mahomes, Jim Harbaugh is not going to let Patrick Mahomes get comfortable. Is going to make him move that pocket and, use his legs if he needs to. Yes, Road Dog, Travis Kelce does that incredible. That was one of the funniest things I've ever heard. Travis must do that a lot, because that was spot on and sounded just like Kermit the Frog too. It's hilarious. I don't get it. I get the joke that Patrick Mahomes sounds like him, but when Patrick talks, I don't hear it. And then everyone just says looks like him, maybe sounds like him. I'm not really there. Anyway, but But yeah, mostly concerned about those receiving yards for Kelsey. But hey, you do what you got to do to get those odds boosted a little bit. $10 will win you 1,700, so that ain't too shabby. But yeah, that is all I got tonight, guys. That is all I got tonight. Knowing I should be live later tonight or early tomorrow morning with our week 2 college picks. Schedule kind of got all wonky because I've been sick all week, but I'm feeling a hell of a lot better. So we're going to look to be doing that later tonight. But with that being said, we've got a whole weekend of football to sit back, relax, and enjoy. I cannot wait for it. I know y'all can't either. So let's go ahead and get started on it. With all that being said, hey, thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. Shout out again, everyone watching here on Rumble, over on YouTube and X. Y'all are the best. If you like what we're cooking, please hit those like buttons, hit the follow buttons. It does help us out a lot more than you know. Big news, big changes coming here to Degenerate Takes in the next couple of weeks. Y'all are not going to want to miss it. But with all that being said, thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. I, of course, have been the Brofict one, AJ. Have an incredible weekend. Good luck. God bless. See you guys next time on Degenerate Takes.